Chief Billy Samuels, you actually wear a lot of hats. You're a deputy chief for the Clark County Fire Department. You're also the chair of the local emergency planning committee, and you're also with Clark County's Office of Emergency Management. Let's talk about that first. Office of Emergency Management says your mission is to mitigate, prepare for, respond to, and recover from all emergencies. That sounds about right.
Yes, sir. So yeah, that is our office. That is what we handle. Obviously, the smaller incidents the fire departments can handle, but when they start to escalate, they're going to need more support. And on that support is going to be the resources prior to getting them what they need. And then afterwards, it's that recovery side that the fire department or other jurisdictions may not really see. That's when the Office of Emergency Management has to come in with the recovery side, because things cost money. And so if we don't get those reimbursements that we should be going after, then it's not a very good business to be in, having deficits on financial side. So that is the recovery side. That's important. But we support those agencies that are actually handling those incidents as they occur.
Give me an idea, this probably does literally take a village, give me an idea of how many agencies are involved, how many people are involved in OEM?
Well, my staff, we have 7 total. And we have a hazmat incident coordinator or a hazmat infrastructure coordinator. But I like to think of it as, we have Clark County as the unincorporated. Then we have our incorporated cities of North Las Vegas, City of Las Vegas, Henderson, Mesquite, and Boulder City that are all under Clark County. And they have their staffs as well for emergency management. So I don't think I just have my small staff, because it's not very big considering the area we're responsible for. But I can call upon any of those agencies and jurisdictions to help me out when something starts getting a little bit bigger. So I think I have a pretty big team once it comes to us all coming together so much.
Tell me about the difference then, or what the work then is done by the local emergency planning committee. Are many of these same agencies have a seat at the same table?
Absolutely. So they all have a seat at the table, and then it's going to expand when it comes to it. It's going to be Department of Energy, DOD, Highway Patrol, LVMPD. For example, for my LEPC co-chair is Rachel Skidmore, the emergency manager for the Metropolitan Police Department. So we have all these committees in place. Private sector is involved as well, business and industry, because we can't do it all of ourselves. So we do rely on all these other agencies and departments to come help us out when things start getting a little bit bigger.
Just off the top of my head, just in the past few years, I can think about things in Clark County. We've had flooding, we've had winter weather situations, we've had wildfires, earthquakes, a pandemic, public protests, and of course 1 October. You have to be prepared for natural and man-made disasters.
Absolutely, and you always try to prepare for the worst. And we had a health crisis plan in our plan for the pandemic that we're going through now. However, things change. Who would have thought you needed cryogenic freezers to store vaccines? The amount of time it takes to set that kind of stuff up, it's a little more than we thought and anticipated. But we handled that curveball, and you set back and you just try to do the best you can with it. But things come up, and we just think about it. We have a little think tank. We all get together and say, hey, how can we handle this? And that's what we do. We solve problems.
In your world, September is Emergency Preparedness Month, but I'm sure really in your world, every month, every day should be Emergency Preparedness Month. What can an individual do to be prepared for anything what we've just talked about or anything we haven't?
Absolutely. So you need to look at your own household. What does your house need to get by for whatever hours you think? I like to think of 72 hours. Have food for 72 hours for your family. Have a gallon of water per person per day for 72 hours. Whatever your pets need, the medications you need. You never know when a pharmacy might not have what you're going to need to keep living. What your pets need, how much food they have. A lot of pets are more important than some children, so you got to make sure they're taken care of. My advice to the general public is go to Clark County Preparedness. Just Google it. It'll come up with our OEM page, and then go down to preparedness. It's a link, and then it's going to bring you to a whole bunch of different ideas on what you want to prepare for, and it's going to take you to ready.gov, and that'll give you all the stuff to kind of give you a little toolbox on what you need to kind of create for your individual self, because everyone's different. And look at your area too. We don't get those massive hurricanes and tornadoes here, but we get high heat. Make sure you have the stuff to take care of that kind of stuff.
So a household should have a survival kit, should have these emergency kits prepared, ready at all times?
Yes, absolutely. And I can go and list all these things out, but it's easier just to go to the website and it'll break it down on what you actually kind of need.
I hate to say that your mission has changed, or maybe it's been a daily mission in the past year and a half since COVID-19 and since the pandemic has upended everyone's lives. Is that fair to say that this has been a daily emergency for you and everyone in your profession?
Absolutely, it's definitely daily, and it's an emergency for the general public too. This is different. The way of life has changed, the way we operate's different. So we're no different. It's just that it seems like we think about it probably every minute of the day.
And almost since day one, there were first community public health testing clinics and then vaccination, and now combinations of both. Those are going to continue, obviously, indefinitely.
Yes, obviously, I think every jurisdiction would like to say we want to get out of the vaccine testing business and hand it off to our private partners, the pharmacies, the doctors' offices, but we're not there yet. So we're going to continue as a jurisdiction for Clark County to still do what we can to provide the testing sites, to provide the vaccine sites. We have Stan Fulton running right now, and that's a county-ran operation with assistance from the Nevada National Guard. But when you look at things in a long term, it costs money. And so if we can get this back to our private partners and we can go back to doing our other daily business, then we'd appreciate that. But again, we're not going to just abandon the community and say we're going to close down testing and vaccine sites. We want to make sure that if the demand is there and the people want it, we want to make sure we can try to provide what we can for them.
Speaking of your daily business, the patch is right there in your arm, the Clark County Fire Department. And I'm going to quote your predecessor, who is now Clark County Fire Chief John Steinbeck. He said, you got to remember that for the fire department, every emergency before COVID-19 is an emergency now. The men and women of the fire department know that and are still on the front lines of doing what they need to do in addition to emergency management.
Absolutely. So the fire department, they always said, oh, they're all hazards. And the men and women of Clark County and every fire department here have stepped up. They've done an amazing job on doing what's been asked of them. PPE's changed, cleaning the station multiple times a day, wearing different types of gear going in on calls, worried about their families and their livelihood as well, while still taking care of people that are calling them. So they're not turning down calls. We're still going on them. We're running. We had a quiet time there when the Las Vegas Strip was shut down for a couple months, but call volume is back, and the men and women they're working their butts off. And as far as the administration, we appreciate their efforts and applaud them for how much hard work. And it's not just Clark County; it's all the jurisdictions are doing an amazing job.
Chief, over the years I've been involved, and I know you have too, in many mock training exercises that have turned out to be very realistic situations. Tell me about some of the mock training exercises, widespread, that you've done, and how they've helped you, say, this year or in the past, to respond and help keep the community safe.
Like last year we had Silver Crucible. We have MCI drills that go through, and we practice. We say, hey, what is realistic? What can happen going forward? And you do your after action reports, and you try to alter the actions that you did during that event. Is it worth, or is it practical to do it again? I think that's probably the biggest things are MCIs. And McCarran Airport one has coming up next month, September 9th. Their triennial drill, which is going to deal with multiple patients and how we track them, which hospitals they go to. After 1 October, the tracking it's very difficult to have a level on calls and say we don't really know where they're at right now. So we do try to improve on that type of stuff. Even real life events, we still look at them and try to prepare us better for the future ones.
And finally, I know the National Homeland Security Conference is coming to MGM Grand here, and Clark County is hosting that. That must be an honor and a lot of work and a lot of knowledge being shared. Tell me about this conference.
It is, absolutely. Clark County was awarded the opportunity to host it. So along with my office, all the jurisdictions have been participating. The commissioners have done an amazing job helping us out and finding us those sponsorships that we need. So it's a 4-day conference. It's Homeland Security where people get together and start networking. They're going to go to multiple seminars, multiple classes, multiple tours, and really just get together and look at best practice on how we can get that going for whether it's in our valley or we learn from them or they learn from us. So it is an honor. We're excited for it.
What have you learned from past conferences like these ones?
What I like going to them, I think the friendships you make is probably one of the best things. You listen to a class here and there and you're like, oh, that was a good topic. And then if for some reason we'll come across that same type of scenario, I'm like, I can call that person because I got their card. Or now you just, you text them and you get, it's all virtual cards now, which is just as good. Probably a little bit easier than the Rolodex that we used to carry. But it's just the networking and the friendships that you make. It's more problem solvers that you can have help you when you get that big problem that you're like, this doesn't make sense.
All right. Deputy Chief Billy Samuels, thank you so much for spending time with us, and thank you and the team for keeping our community safe.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.